Hello, it's Lynn Watts here with Wyatt the Wonder Dog Books, and today I want to talk about children who have perfectionistic tendencies. All right. So, what does this mean? Who is this? Well, as a school counselor, occasionally I would get a referral for a child in a classroom who was, let's just say, a perfectionist. This might be the child who um, does well on a test and yet falls apart because they didn't make 100. This is someone who makes some sort of mistake, either minor or perhaps even large. And again, rather than thinking, let me see how I can learn to do better, rather totally loses it and dissolves into, temper tantrum or tears or something like that. And it doesn't just happen in a school environment. Certainly, this might be a child who is on some sort of sports team and they miss a shot. They don't, score whatever the thing is that they're attempting to do. And rather than, again, looking at that situation and saying, I wonder what I did wrong, how I could do better, how could I improve on this? Instead, they literally fall apart. Maybe they stomp off the field, throw the bat, even endanger somebody else. Or if they feel like somebody else has interfered with their ability to be successful, they might take their emotions out on another person. So this certainly can be a problem. And I think it's important to take a look at how can we be helpful in this child's life. So I think that the first thing that I want to say is that certainly sometimes the issue is the message that a child gets from their environment, whether that's their parents or the school system or whatever. Um, and certainly I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But I think there are also some people who are very much wired to be perfectionistic. If you are familiar with the DISC model of looking at personality style, um, there is one personality style that's sort of designated as perfectionistic. Or if you're familiar with, let's say, the Enneagram, again, there is one personality style that tends to be more perfectionistic. Again, some of this we might say is kind of wiring, some of it is messaging, and really, does it make any difference? The question is, how can you intervene so that this aspect of their personality or outlook or perspective serves them well as opposed to as detrimental to what they're trying to accomplish. And certainly there are many things where it's very important to be a perfectionist. Let's say if you're a brain surgeon, you want to do things right, right? If you're a rocket scientist, you want to do things right. So we're not trying to eliminate that motivation or that striving to do things well and to do them right. Instead, we're looking at how does you that how do you accomplish that? How does your behavior serve that? And so here are some suggested ideas that you might take a look at. I think I've already mentioned taking a look at messages that we get. We certainly live in a culture, I think, where perfectionism is somewhat held up as a standard, doing things exactly right. And so it's important, first of all, just to see what kind of messages are coming across to the child. Do they have a parent that, expects perfection, perhaps a teacher, a school system that emphasizes this over effort and motivation and that sort of thing? So take a look at messages and kind of help children understand how they've incorporated that message into their own personal self-talk. All right. The other thing is that whenever we're communicating with children, we want to focus at least as much, if not in many cases more, on the effort and the energy that went into any accomplishment as opposed to the success itself. Pointing out, even somebody who aces a test, let's say, to not only say, great job at that, but also to emphasize that they put a lot of energy and effort into getting to that point, whether that was studying, whether that was paying attention in class, whether it was practice, whatever it took. So we want to make sure that children see the connection between energy, effort, and motivation and success. Not that success defines them. There have been too many adults who have been successful at something, let's say a gymnast who wins at the Olympics, and then afterwards has no sense of self worth if they don't continue to be successful in everything they do or accomplish. So we don't want to define ourselves as our success, but rather as who we are authentically, and our energy and effort that we put towards something can be more important there. We want to help children with unrealistic and unhealthy thinking practices. So many times, children who are perfectionists feel like, if they are successful, they're a winner. And if they are not successful, they're a loser. So whatever they accomplish defines who they are. And we want rather children to feel worthwhile, to feel that they are enough just as who they are, not by what they accomplish. And so, really, what we're talking about is unconditional love, not only from somebody else, but unconditional love for ourselves, no matter what we're able to accomplish in life. All right. So giving ourselves credit for energy and effort, but not feeling like we're defined by the success. We want to reframe losing at something or not achieving that goal as an opportunity to learn and to do better next time. All right. So there is certainly this idea of growth mindset, which Carol Dweck came up with through her work with studying children and their learning styles and ability. And what she found was that children who had a growth mindset saw failure as an opportunity to learn and and a challenge. I didn't accomplish this yet, but now I have an opportunity to try again, and I'm going to do better and learn from it. So reframing failure as an opportunity to learn is really important. Um, I think also, if we can make accomplishment somewhat lighthearted, not everything has to be um, so serious, like making the best grade in the class, reading the most books, scoring the winning point in a game. All of that, let's make some of it fun. Let's be lighthearted about some things so that, if we do fail, we can be sort of lighthearted about that as well. So, not taking everything so seriously and making sure that there is some humor and some just real life good times involved in our communication. And then finally, I think one really great way to help kids who are very perfectionistic to help them or engage them in stories of real life people who have encountered difficulty, who maybe did not make the team the first time around, who were not successful at whatever they were trying to do, who were a poor student in school, but now run some amazing company or design some great invention. All these things are certainly available. There are many, many examples of people like this who have been successful in life, but who had lots of opportunities for failure in order to get there. So, giving kids real life examples of what they can expect and people that they can learn from in terms of the kind of skills necessary to be successful, right? So, I think being a perfectionist, rather than defining that as a problem, as something we need to change, instead, we need to look at that as a child who has some really great skills that can make them very successful as long as they have the right mindset to work with that attitude and that attention to detail and that attention to um, practice and getting where they want to be, as long as they don't allow their mindset and their emotions to rule that, but rather they take charge of it and learn a way to reframe and to look at failure as something necessary for learning and success. So hope you find that helpful as you work with kids that maybe have this attribute, and helping them value that about themselves, and to use it to their advantage. Thanks as always for all the work that you do to make children's lives better. And thanks as always for listening.